Hey guys, welcome to episode 56, and since it's our last day in the Bahamas, we are going to give you our top 10 pros and cons about bringing your boat to the Bahamas.
We're headed for adventure, our worries left behind. Taken to the water, fun rising like the tide. With open skies above us, we'll be running side by side. Come on and weigh the anchor, we're casting off the line. We're about the destination, the journey is divine. Welcome to the story of living our boat life. We're doing it our own way on Lady K. We're sailing away on Lady K.
So I just want to apologize that this video is 2 days late. It's Sunday today. Usually we release them on Friday. Last week it was a day early because we just, right place, right time. If you have the Wi-Fi and you have the time to crunch the editing part of it, then you sort of just do it. And we did not have time on Friday or yesterday. So now we're settled for today. We're in a good spot to actually get this video done and get it out. So I'm sorry it's 2 days late, but it's here now.
Woo.
So without further ado, our top 10 reasons to or not to bring your boat to the Bahamas. Everything we learned in the months that we've spent in the Bahamas, and sort of some of the stuff we wish we would have known going into it to help you if you're considering doing this thing. So I've got them written down, and we got 5 pros and 5 cons. So I think we're just going to take turns. The purple ones are yours.
So I'm going to go with my first and number one pro. It is the water. The water, the scenery, the marine life, the snorkeling, diving. I mean, we don't really technically dive, but
No, we do snorkel.
We do snorkel
And spearfish.
and spearfish
Unsuccessfully.
And just the things that you see under the water line are just
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And
It's a beautiful country as is, but as soon as you go below the waterline, it's 10 times more beautiful.
yeah.
It's absolutely epic. And I swam with sharks and dolphins, rays. We saw whales in Long Island. We saw whales. Like, holy crap. It was
Yeah.
whale migration through there. So the wildlife, the water life.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Very
Oh, yeah.
speechless.
Bring a snorkel, like a good one,
Yeah.
and a good, like, waterproof underwater camera. Because a lot of your time in the Bahamas is going to be spent snorkeling and filming and shooting and different things. I mean, the Thunderball Grotto Cave,
Oh yeah.
the shipwrecks, just the underwater is just, plan on spending a lot of your time underwater. So I'll do the next con. I guess we'll follow the good thing up with a bad thing. The con, and probably the biggest con about the Bahamas, is that it is expensive. And the key to understanding that is understanding its economy. The Bahamas doesn't have any industry, has very little farming. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen any farming. People sometimes grow their own stuff here and there, but no farming, no industry, no manufacturing, nothing. So it's all tourism based. 100% of their income is based on tourists coming over. And that means that things are going to be priced as accordingly to tourism. So everything's jacked up a little bit. Also, something to consider about the Bahamas is that because they don't grow anything, everything is shipped in. All the food is shipped in, boxed stuff, electronics, diesel, everything is shipped in. The only thing they make themselves is water, and that's RO water, reverse osmosis. Every island seems to have a water plant to take care of their own water, but they don't make their own diesel or food or anything. So it's all shipped in, and then you have to account for that in the price of the product you're buying. How much did it cost to get the product here on the boat? And there's boats constantly going back from Miami through to the Bahamas, Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, and there's even a boat from Japan that goes to the Bahamas. So the cars are actually a mixed breed. You have some left-hand drive American cars and some right-hand drive Japanese cars. It's sort of 50-50, which is interesting anyway. But it's super expensive. And then also you have VAT, value-added tax, on anything you do. So when you go to the bank machine, take out $100, the Bahamian government is going to add 12% to that, or take 12% from that, so that you're paying tax on the cash you take out. And then when you go to spend that cash, you're paying tax on it again at 12%. So if you take out $100, 24% of it is going to be taxed. So it's expensive. It's an extremely expensive place to be.
So my next point is also a pro. It's the people that you meet It's the locals and people that live on the islands, and like there's nobody better to show you around a new place than the locals themselves. People like almost willing to give you the shirt off their back.
Yeah, yeah. They're so nice.
They're so ready and willing to help you out in anything that you need. If you befriend the right ones, I guess, you find out all the background details of the island.
The history.
That, you can't find online or in a book or a cruising guide.
The real history, too.
The real history.
From the person who lived there 50 years ago.
Yeah, and it's incredible to learn, how this island went from having next to nothing on it to being, well established.
Cruise ship capital.
And it's insane. So, but there's honestly no nicer people that you'll ever meet than.
And we've been through the southern U.S. and we met some nice people.
Yeah.
But the Bahamian people are right on par with that. They're just
fantastic.
Wow. And it gets a bad rep sometimes because you guys in North America you see crime warnings for the Bahamas. It's important to understand those crime warnings are for Nassau and Freeport, the two that constantly have like mega cruise ships coming in and out all the time. Well, somebody's like jacking tourists or something. The crime is only in those two places. We haven't locked the boat, haven't locked the dinghy, haven't chained the dinghy. There's no padlock on the dinghy outboard. We haven't done any of it. We haven't even put the companionway boards in ever until we got to Nassau, and we just got out of Nassau real quick. And as soon as you're out of Nassau, you stop locking the boat again. It's really, the crime isn't what you hear it is. Okay, so the next con is weather and weather patterns. You don't really think about this, but when you're going through the Bahamas in the winter months, which are the months you're going to be there if you're bringing your boat there, the weather is always exactly the same unless there's like a huge storm system or something. So it starts out, let's say, from the northeast east wind, 10, 12, 15 knots. It's fine. That's sort of normal day-to-day life, 10 to 15 out of the east northeast. And it goes for like 3 days like that. And then it goes a little bit more south, and it goes from the south for a day, then it comes around the west for the day. So it's clocked almost completely around. And on the last day, at the end of the week, it goes to a northerly. And these are what you have to watch out for in the Bahamas. The northerlies get up to 25, 30 knots normally. So every week, by the end of the week, you need to figure out where you're putting the boat for that northerly that's going to come through. It's a cold front, and it gets much cooler. You lose like 5 degrees on the air temperature. It'll make you not want to go swimming because it's a little bit cold. But it's blowing 30 knots. You can't just, keep sailing. I guess you could if you wanted to, but we didn't. But you have to find somewhere to hide the boat. You have to have that planned into your entire journey through the Bahamas. Where am I hiding the boat when the next norther comes? And sometimes, toward the end of the winter season, the northers get closer together or farther apart. So it's almost unpredictable, but you can watch it. It's like a clock. The wind always goes clockwise from trade winds to norther. And then when the norther passes, right back to trade winds, and we start the cycle over again. So a lot of people end up getting stuck in different places in the Bahamas because it is kind of difficult to keep making miles. You have to be extremely gung-ho, like, okay, let's go, miles and miles every day you can, and then you miss everything. Or you can be like us and be a bit more lazy and careful about it, but you end up being like, oh, there's another norther, we gotta find somewhere to hide the boat. And then you find somewhere really good to hide the boat, like Georgetown, where you just love it, and then it just doesn't even make sense to keep going because it's such a good hiding spot and the northers get so close together. So be prepared for that weather. You cannot sail 6-7 days a week, maybe 3 or 4 days if you're really lucky and the season's right.
Maybe.
The next one's a pro that's mine. So the things that you can do, this kind of goes along with what Candace was saying about the water and snorkeling and diving. The on-land stuff or the above-water stuff is amazing too. If you want to go sailing just for the sport of it, those trade winds are amazing. Usually they're working against you, so you're not going to be able to get where you want to go. But if you just want to go out for a sail, it's some of the best sailing grounds in the world. Protected harbors, 10 to 15 knots on the beam everywhere, as long as you're not trying to get somewhere. But then there's the hiking and the exploring and the blue holes and the caves and the mountains you want to climb up. And and not to mention exploring the cities, wandering around the little towns like Alistown and different stuff like that, Georgetown. Just absolutely amazing.
So then a downside for myself is the groceries and the supply selection. So as Tim stated earlier, like everything comes in on a boat, so there are days where, oh shoot, we ran out of milk or we're out of bread, and you go to the grocery store And so did the grocery store. Like, they don't have any milk. They don't have any bread. They don't have any, apples, oranges, produce, because that boat hasn't come in yet. So there have been times where it was like 3 days after the boat was supposed to be there, the food boat was supposed to be there, and it wasn't.
I think it was weather.
Because of bad weather.
Yeah.
And that's something to consider, is the fact that everything's coming in either on a plane or on a boat to these islands. There's no other way to get those things there. So if the weather's bad, just like us not moving our own boat in bad weather, the mailboat's not going anywhere either. So it's
same goes for boat parts.
Yeah, boat parts.
They don't have a West Marine.
No. I mean, there's a couple small places that you can get, little tinkery type things, but very, very common boat things, like, I don't know, cotter pins.
Cotter pins, lines, cleats.
Yeah, that's about it. But any specialty items of any sort, like a windlass, or,
Solar charge controller?
Yeah.
Nope.
Not getting it. It's got to be shipped in, so.
Alright, the next pro is this entire country of the Bahamas is extremely well tailored to cruisers. I don't know if there's another country in the world that is this well tailored to cruisers, and by cruisers I mean us folk that are traveling through on a boat and don't have a home there. They are so set up. Every little town seems to have at least a water supply that you can bring your jerry cans to, or in some cases pull the boat right up to and fill it with a hose. But water is very easy to find, very readily available. Sometimes it costs money, most times it doesn't. Most of the towns, if it's a big enough town, they've set up a dedicated water station for cruisers. Also, there's dinghy docks in almost every town, which are free, and they're set up specifically for cruisers. And the dinghy dock is usually right near the grocery store, the bank, the water terminal thing that you get your water from. Every store you could possibly need, there'll be a dinghy dock. And there's fuel, gasoline and diesel are available almost everywhere. There's a couple out islands in the Bahamas that, they don't have anything, but they're so, well placed in between the ones where you have everything. The whole culture there is set up for boaters hanging out, and all the locals act accordingly. They're like, oh, we like when the boaters come in because they, spend money in our town. So they treat you really, really well. When you pull up in a boat, expect 4 or 5 locals to help you tie it up. And that's just because they want you there. Saltwater. Maybe this only applies to us because we were a freshwater boat, but it really will blow your mind how fast everything will rust. Just unbelievably fast, overnight sometimes. The salt in the air and the salt in the water, and then the salt on your gear, like your snorkel gear and your swim shorts, anything that goes in the water, the bottom of the dinghy, everything just gets so sticky and slimy and rusty. The salt water will just absolutely blow your mind. The best suggestion I could make is bring a lot of stainless polish, a lot of scrubby brush, and those green Brillo pads, lots of cleaning stuff, and plan on spending like a day a week, or at least, a morning a week from breakfast to lunch, a morning a week, just cleaning the boat. Do the water line, do all your stainless steel, polish everything, probably 4 hours a week, and you'll be okay.
So the last pro of the list is the other cruisers. So there's a lot of them out there that have already been there, done that, and will help you out in finding parts that you need, or a tool that you don't have. They've got it. Telling you how to get here, or where to get that, and so on and so forth. But then it's also the fact that you're hanging out with like-minded people.
Yeah.
Like they just get it. They don't care what you did for a living back home. They don't care about where you came from. I mean, oh hey, Canada, cool.
Yeah.
That's about it. Like nobody cares.
And then it's sort of like, okay, but what are we doing today? Are we hiking? Are we diving? Are we snorkeling? Like,
yeah, and it's so you've pretty always got somebody to hang out with.
Yeah. Somebody with a lot in common with you.
Yeah, it's just incredible to have that unspoken bond with other people, and people on land just kind of don't get it. No offense, guys.
All right, and the last con is something called island time, and you may have heard of this, you may not, but I'll explain it real quick. The hours of 9 to 5 don't really apply in the Bahamas. If the sign in the window of the store says they open at 9, they don't open at 9. They might open around 9 or 10 or 11. There's been stores that didn't open at all that day. It's like, you know, a Monday, and it says Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And that Monday, they just didn't bother coming in. Island time is a very, very real thing, and it's a cultural thing throughout the Caribbean. And the first taste of it you're going to get is the Bahamas, where the bank might not open at 9. The customs office may not open at 9. Like, it's just sort of this unspoken rule that you'll get to it when you get to it. And it's very laid back like that. So it's actually very, very relaxing until you need something. And once you need something you may be used to in North America, where you're like, oh, that store opens at 9 and it's 8:30 now, I'm going to hit the road and I'll get there right when it opens. Don't do that in the Bahamas, because it won't open at 9. You just have to go, you know what, I'll go around lunchtime. So you have to sort of plan your day a little bit differently. And it's like, on one hand, super relaxing and it's super chill. On the other hand, it gets really annoying when you need something. We were waiting. So that's it for episode 56. We want to give a huge shout out to our friends, Carrie and Jennifer. There's some patrons of ours that came to visit us. We had an awesome time with you guys. Thank you for everything.
And then also want to thank our newest patrons. We've got Simon, Brian and Janet, Steve, and Michael. Thank you so much, guys. Can't do this without you.
Yeah, definitely not. So if you like our videos, you find some value in them, please hit the subscribe button so that we know that you want to see more. And if you could give us a thumbs up on the video, that'd be cool too. If you liked it, of course. If you didn't, give us some suggestions on what you'd like to see in videos. We're always happy to answer questions and try to cover as much valuable content as we possibly can. That's what we're trying to do with these videos, is answer the questions that we had before we left on this crazy journey. So we will see you guys next week. Actually, next week is our trip to from Bahamas back to Florida. So that's going to be pretty awesome. Can't wait for you guys to join us for that. See you later.